Welcome friends, LostScarf here, and it's time for the Overwatch Hero Guide 2! Reaper! That's right, it's time to talk about the Edgelord! So Reaper's a pretty strong hero in this game. He can kill everyone in the game in 1 to 3 shots, depending on how many pellets hit the head, hit the body, and how many you just miss with as you're attacking people. He's very dangerous up close, not so much far away, but with the right play you can come up to people pretty fast with him and just give them a very hard time. So as always, we're going to talk about who he is, his abilities, talk about just how you play him in combat, mode duties for him, tips and tricks, and then wrapping it all up in a conclusion. And as always, these guides are more geared towards beginners, expert, and advanced players. Maybe there's something here you didn't think about, but most likely you know all this stuff already. But if there's anything you feel I left out that should be worth talking about, please say so in the comments so that viewers have more to learn from. That's what's important. The more we learn, the better we all are at the game, and the better the game becomes in general. So, let's get going. Who is Reaper? His original name was Gabriel Reyes. His age is unknown. He was the leader of the small strike team Overwatch. After the Omelette Crisis, he was passed over for the top position of the official Overwatch in favor of Soldier 76. He was given leadership of Blackwatch, which was Overwatch's more covert ops branch, but despite this, he felt insulted for being passed over and planned the fall of Overwatch in the shadows. Years later, things came to a head, and he and Soldier 76 ended up killing each other. But they both survived somehow, because no one ever dies in this thing. So Reaper is an offense hero with shotguns. He's all about getting up close and personal and killing his enemies in 1 to 3 shots. He can kill 17 heroes with a single headshot. It'll take 2 to 3 headshots to kill the rest of the crew. He has the ability to teleport to spaces to sneak around the enemy, and the ability to phase into a wraith form to get in and out of situations. He's great as a team damage backup or as a deadly flanker. Usually you'll see people play him as a flanker though. It's up to your playstyle though, what you want to do and what the team really needs. Then there's the Death Blossom, which does 170 damage a second for 3 seconds, which adds up to 510 damage. This ultimate will kill everyone but tanks around him very quickly. That's the only thing that makes him vulnerable. Certain things you want to worry about when you're doing your ultimate, or else you're going to get killed doing it, which will just be not so great. But again, just touching on team backup or as a deadly flanker, generally see people play him as a flanker, and they just get behind the enemy team and then kill a bunch of people, but you gotta be careful about that. If you spend too much time flanking the enemy team, and not enough time just actually doing effective damage, you could be a detriment to your team, so consider that when you're playing. Reaper's abilities. So first up, we gotta talk about the guns. Hellfire shotguns. 2 to 7 damage per pellet, 20 pellets a shot. Shotgun spread, so it does maximum potential 280 headshot damage a shot, and they come out pretty fast. Next, we gotta talk about his passive, that is the Reaping. Whenever an enemy dies, they drop their soul, which he can use to heal himself for 50 HP. Pretty useful when you're in a desperate situation. Next up is his Wraith form, so for 3 seconds you're invulnerable to damage and enemy powers. You can be healed in this form though, which is pretty nice. Shadow Step is the next ability. This allows you to teleport to a location you are facing. You get to select it as you're looking around. Be careful though when you're running and doing it, because you might accidentally just put a surface that you don't want to go to, which can be annoying. And lastly is his ultimate, Death Blossoms. This 510 damage over 3 seconds in an area around the Reaper. He can move during the ultimate as well, but he is vulnerable to getting killed at the same time, so you gotta be a little smart about when you use it. Reaper in combat. So he's all about killing people. No surprise, he's the Reaper. So he's a very popular flanker because of his ability to teleport to flanking locations of the enemy and to wreak havoc on the back lines. If you can sneak up on the enemy, this is your best bet to do damage. But if there's nowhere to sneak to, you'll have to push forward with your team and act as supplemental damage. Everyone fears the Reaper because he can kill them in 1 to 3 shots. Keep that in mind when you engage your opponents. Tanks will be careful when dealing with you, since you can kill them in 3 shots up close. Ideally, you'll be shadow stepping around the enemy and attacking them from the back or the sides, picking off healers or DPS before they know you're there. Once they turn to face you, you fight as long as you can, then Wraith form back to your teammates. Make sure you mix up your approach or they'll kill you when you become predictable. Now when it comes to Death Blossom, it is a very deadly ultimate to kill all enemies but tanks. Consider what shields and other means of defense the enemy has before using it. It is however very powerful at wiping an enemy team at the right time, and it isn't necessarily a bad thing to use your ultimate for less numbers as well. If you can kill both DPS on an enemy team or the healers, that can really cripple them to a good extent, especially if you take out both healers. Getting rid of the healers makes the enemy team not able to push forward, which allows your team to just crush the rest of them. That can be huge. And you don't have to worry about your ultimate too much because you'll get it again really quickly if you know what you're doing with the enemy team. Mode duties. So in Capture, Hybrid, and Payload, on attack, you flank the enemy, kill all you can, get back to your team before you die, rinse and repeat, as necessary and as possible. Fight the enemy off the point or kill them as they try to run, and contest the point. For payloads, you're only on the payload if it needs defending. Generally, you're out flanking the enemy as they try to stop the payload. Use Death Blossom when the enemy doesn't see you coming to wipe them out. Great for clearing objectives. So the other thing, of course, to talk about with that is you just try not to be predictable. So when you're attacking the enemy and flanking them, try not to do it from the same spot over and over again, because they're going to know you're coming from there and then they'll kill you. Unless you're actually in the lower levels. If you're playing in bronze or silver, enemy teams actually will not pay attention to that, and you can just keep going from the same spot and killing them over and over again. Gold and above will likely notice this a little bit more, and you'll become predictable and you should die against them, so keep that in mind when you're going for the flanks. Now when it comes to defense, while your front line is defending the choke or objective, flank the sides and kill all you can, then wraith back to your team before you die. Do this until you win. If they get on the objective, your only option is to kill them off of it. For payload, you know where the enemy is in general because where the payload is, you can see the outline of it, so get behind that payload and kill the enemy off of it. Since you know where the enemy is, it's easy to figure out where to do your Death Blossom as well. Now, on control maps, there's a lot of spaces for Reaper to shadow step and sneak around the enemy. The capture point itself also usually has a lot of places for Reaper to sneak up to as well, so Reaper is capable of being an absolute terror on control maps. Find the enemy's weak spots and pick them apart. Then blast in the bits with Death Blossom when possible. Tips and tricks with Reaper. The first one's got to be the tip of don't overflank. This is very important to think about. If you're flanking too much and you're just not producing and getting a lot of kills doing it that way, you might have to just fight from the front. And this could be because maybe the enemy's seeing you come and they're killing you. Maybe they're moving too far forward for you to actually flank effectively, like they just keep going beyond where you keep going, so you're actually not doing anything for your team. If you're not producing for your team, consider changing up what you're doing so you can actually get kills for your team, because if you're not doing anything, well then you shouldn't be a Reaper. Another tip is be out in the open as little as possible. Shadow step is very important for this. If the enemy doesn't know where you are very scary to them. You can get a lot of kills if they don't see you coming, because you can just one-shot a lot of people. Next up, I feel this advice is very important. Left-click every shot. Don't just hold or shoot wildly. So what I mean is, you shoot at the enemy, you hit left-click, and then you aim your shot again, hit left-click, aim your shot, and hit left-click. Don't just spam it. Always find your shot and then fire, because if you do that, you're going to be more effective at landing your shots, getting more pellets on the enemy, and killing them instantly if possible. When you kill the enemy quickly, you don't have to worry about them hurting you so much. So line up your shots effectively, get the kill, and then you don't have to worry about it, unless you're taking on more than one target. Next step is just a little reminder, because some people don't realize this. Reaper melts tanks. Tanks cannot handle Reaper. Of course, Reinhardt could try to pin you when you're trying to kill him, so be careful about that. Of course, Roadhog can shoot you in the face when you're trying to take him out, so don't let him do that. Winston can't do anything about it. D.Va can run away, but if she doesn't run away, you can take her out very quickly. And then there's Zarya. She got her bubble, which can help her out, but that bubble doesn't last forever. You can kill her within 2 shots if she doesn't do enough to stop you or run away. Next step has to do with Wraith form. It can get you out of a lot of bad situations, like Maze Freeze or just lots of ultimates. Big explosion ultimates, you can survive them. Just big attack ultimates. A lot of things you can survive just by doing this. Another one, of course, is Zarya's ultimate. You can get out of that gravity pull by using your Wraith form, so you don't have to worry about whatever's coming in next after that. Now here's an important one that has to do with frames. You can actually melee during the reload time. So it doesn't shorten your reload time, it just allows you to do a melee during reload time before you can actually shoot a shot off. What you do is you just hit R and then you just hit melee, and there you go. You just actually did something instead of just standing there while reloading, so it's nice right there. Another thing you can do is you can reload right before going to the Wraith form, so you have your guns ready. So it's not as fast as doing the reload, because you can actually interrupt reload and go into Wraith and not have a reload going. So what you do is you reload, and the moment you see your bullets go to 8 shots, then hit Wraith form, and then you can go around to somewhere and then use your guns right when you end out of Wraith form. That's something you can do. Of course, this little delay might be important, so you got to consider it when you're doing it. If you just got to get out of there, then you just got to get out of there. But if you're going to reload before going to Wraith, you can do some work with it, so keep that in mind. Next one has to do, use Shadow Step to not be in the open and keep the enemy guessing. You can use the Shadow Step not just for going for high ground, but also just going across the ground, going across doorways so the enemy doesn't see you coming. It's just really helpful. Another one is, of course, don't let the enemy see where you Shadow Step, especially snipers. If they know where you are, oh, you're dead in one shot. Simple as that. Of course, an important reminder, just in case you don't realize this, Shadow Step to high ground to jump down on the enemy with guns or ultimate. Now, I'm talking about not just ledges, but you can actually get on top of things like, say, Gibraltar. You can get on top of the jet inside Gibraltar. That's something you can do. There's places you can get on top of that other people can't unless they have the ability to fly, so keep that in mind. Now, this next one's kind of important to remember, and that is you can shoot right before ultimate. You actually hit left click, then Q within a half second in between each other, and you can just do both, which is pretty great. So you can run up on maybe like a Roadhog and ult him if he's with a group, and that'll be great right there, because maybe it'll get him killed. Because remember the Roadhog guide, usually the ultimate will not kill him, because Roadhog has 600 HP, while the ultimate only does 510 HP. So, usually when Reaper does an ultimate on a Roadhog, Roadhog just hits him with a hook or hits him with a left click and kills him. So if you weaken him enough that you can kill him before he can do that, that's just great for you. And the last thing to go over is gotta be watch out for shields, defense matrix, stuns, and walls. They will waste your ultimate. I'm talking about Reinhardt shield can eat your entire ultimate. Winston shield does the same thing. Defense matrix from D.Va is very detrimental for you because she can put it on you from a distance so that you don't hurt anybody, which really isn't great to do. Then you have, of course, stuns like, say, McCree's stun grenade. That can stop your ultimate, and then May's wall can get put in front of you so you don't do anything, which can also be frustrating as well. So think about all those kind of different things that can be used to stop you as you're using your ultimate on the enemy. In conclusion, Reaper is a deadly hero that can kill anyone in as few as 1 to 3 shots. He's a deadly flanker that is capable of getting in and out of places unseen or unscathed. His guns and Death Blossom also make him capable of wiping out an entire team alone in the right situation. Be smart about your aim, positioning, and ability usage, and you will remind everyone why they should fear the Reaper. Now that is the guide right there for Reaper. He is just a really strong hero if you know what the heck you're doing with him. He can carry the team very effectively. You can go 4 gold medals with him pretty well if you know what the heck you're doing. Just going in, killing people, getting out there, holding the points when you need to. Just doing a lot of work. Reaper can do it. He is just good for it. So that right there is the guide. As always, I say you should share these guys. That way more people learn different heroes in the game, makes them more effective. That's always a good thing. And of course, subbing to the channel so that you just know every week when the guide comes up that it's up, so that you can see the next guide. Because we're doing a guide every week for Overwatch so more people can just learn the game. Because I just like more people knowing what they're doing. The more people who know how to play in the game, the better it is for everybody. That's how I feel, at least. So there you go, there's the guide right there for Reaper. Zenyatta is up next. He's got the highest DPS from the support heroes. Even better than Symmetra. He can just do so much damage. He can do a lot of damage with her beam, but he can just do so much damage from any range because his balls do not fall off in damage. And of course, Discord Orb just does a lot for the team as well. So that'll be the next guide coming up. I had fun making this guide. Hope you had fun watching and learning from it. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.